folks, it is me, the bee, and by the pricking of my thumbs, something wicked this way comes. Robert Eggers' The Witch. Were I so inclined to make a film list of 2016, The Witch would easily be in my top 10, nay, my top 5. I really, really liked this film, and I do feel if I continue to watch it, that like will turn into a love. But first things first, The Witch is not a film for everybody, and I feel the reason why this is so is based on the theatrical trailer that came out, late last year. Now, even though the trailer doesn't necessarily lie in terms of showing you what you see, a lot of people who did not like this film all feel that they were going in for a straight-up horror film, and when they saw the movie and they realized that this is not your typical, fright flick, that's where I feel some of the disappointment came from. But that being said, even though there are a lot of horror and suspense elements in here, what really makes The Witch work is the fact that it is a drama, first and foremost. I have heard some pretty strong comparisons with this film, crossed with David Lynch and Stanley Kubrick. While I can see a couple of David Lynch type elements, I can definitely see where the Kubrick label comes from, namely from Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Stanley Kubrick's The Shining is a film about a man who hates his family, right? And in the case of The Witch, it is about a family that hates each other. And as time goes on, madness and intrigue and paranoia is what splits them apart. So that being said, here is what I really liked about this film. A movie is only as good as its characters, and the characters are only as good as the actors who play them. And in this case, all of the actors in The Witch are superb. You have Ralph Ineson, Kate Dickie, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Harvey Scrimshaw. Now, even though everybody in this film does a good job, including the two younger performers who play the younger brother and sister, the most standout performance here is definitely Anya Taylor-Joy as Thomasin, who is the eldest child. Now, as any of you out there would know, let's just say the puritanical era was not a friendly time for anybody, specifically women. When you pair that with the fact that there was mass hysteria going around about witchcraft and witch burnings and inquisitions and shit, it was not a good time to be a woman, especially if you were young and blossoming. And here's the thing. Even though men and women were persecuted as witches, a lot of those accusations still fell down to women. And the reason why I feel this is so, and quite obviously at that, is that the patriarchy was a huge factor, especially when it came to religion. What better way to keep the status quo than to prey on people's ideas about heaven and hell? Okay? So if you acted up, if you questioned, if you experimented on your own terms and became curious in a way that was diametrically opposite to what the clergy in the church would say, you were counted as evil. And in that case, women were seen as potential agents of Lucifer. It was a very unfair time. And going back to Taylor Johnson's performance, this young lady is put through the ringer in this film. I had never seen any of her previous work, but in saying so, I feel this works to her advantage. And after her amazing work in this film, I really hope this young lady keeps on going on, because her work on this film is it is astounding. She has a wiseness beyond her years, but at the same time, she doesn't come off as enormously like an old soul. Thomasin is 17 years old in the film, okay? She's a young woman, she's blossoming and everything like that. And it is because of this, development and the fact that she's growing up in front of the eyes of her family, she's becoming a different sort of entity. And when this, when the witch, raises her ugly head and starts to prey on this family, everybody starts to become suspicious of Thomasin particularly. Now, a quick word on the witch, okay? There is a witch in this film, and don't worry, this is not a spoiler. the film makes it completely obvious that this is not a matter of does, you know, whether or not does the witch exist or not. No. She exists, okay? But she is not the focus of the film. The focus on the movie is the family and how it manages to tear itself apart. All these people are going insane. And even though, you know, the witch is a catalyst for making this apparent, you get the feeling that this type of, you know, negativity has been building up in this family all this time. And finally, it is bubbling to the surface and it just destroys everybody. Now, in saying that, even though this is a very dramatic film, there is still a lot of really disturbing crap in this film. I'm not kidding. That when you see these things, they will sear themselves into your mind. And they will not go anywhere for the rest of your days. It has that sort of impact, and I am so thankful that even though some of the stuff is quite disgusting and it really gets under your skin, it's not done in a gratuitous sense. It's all for the benefit of the story and this feeling of paranoia and isolation, just dread and horror that starts to permeate through every single frame. This is a slow burning story, no doubt, but when these moments happen, it feels earned. It doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel gimmicky. Every single terrible incident in this film has a sense of organic progression. And once again, this isn't just down to, you know, extraordinary film technique. This is also down to the actors. And here's another thing. Every single character in this film speaks with a prototypical modern English slant. How do I mean by that? Well, for example, there is a line that says, you know, so-and-so, come thee hither, have thy lost thine mind. That is how these characters talk, because, you know, that's how people talked back in those days. But what really does separate this sort of thing from your typical sort of a Shakespearean adaptation is that there is real conviction behind these lines. These actors aren't just reading these words and memorizing them from a script. They are putting feeling and emotional drive behind them. And, you know, I can understand as to why this may put some other viewers off. And, you know, I don't blame you if you feel that way. But as time goes on and as you see the actions speak for themselves and see all these visuals and stuff, you know, whatever language is being spoken, the universal sense of terror and just uncertainty just, you know, crawls through the screen. It is really, really good. This film looks incredible. Eggers really, you know, jumped through a couple of hoops in order to get this movie done, but whatever adversity he faced, it is there on the big screen, and it looks grand, okay? This was made on a fairly modest budget, but it is one of those films that takes a very, you know, humble production value about itself and make itself look like 10 times that. Every film looks like it could be a piece of art on your wall. It's all very gothic and oppressive, but at the same time it has a sense of overwhelming beauty to it. So, yeah, do I have complaints with this film? Yes, I do. But I feel most of it comes down to the fact that it is like I said before, it is a very slow burning film. It does not immediately pay off the it doesn't immediately pay off the build-up, you see. You really have to be patient with it. And, you know, some audience members may not necessarily be patient. I have a feeling that if I went into this film not exactly in the right mindset, I may have found it boring, or, you know, I wouldn't necessarily have been completely invested in it. This is a film that you can't just go out on a lark to see, okay? You have to put yourself in a state of mind in order to see it. Now, and that state of mind will basically be no expectation, but an open mind. And that's how The Witch works. So, I give The Witch a 4 out of 5. And I think, like I said, on subsequent rewatches, I may very well end up loving this film. And if any of you out there who love this movie want to, you know, chime in with what you liked and what you didn't, you know, feel free to comment. Okay, guys, well, thank you once again for listening to me ramble, and as usual, I shall see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.